A devastating new report by the Pentagon's own watchdog group, the Inspector General, says that the Pentagon is not complying with federal law in order to reduce civilian harm during U.S. military strikes. That, and a former Pentagon employee who worked under the center that was designed to help protect civilians during wartime, says he was fired under DOGE. He and his fellow employees in the center were fired to the extent that this center cannot comply with federal law. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's get into this. Now, as we know, this comes on the heels of what was a devastating U.S. military strike in Iran, the killing of at least 150 school children and others in what was an apparent double strike or perhaps even triple strike tap. We have not, of course, gotten any kind of a thorough investigation into what happened there. There are some thoughts that perhaps AI was used, but this new revelation by this watchdog group, as well as the whistleblower, calls into question of whether or not the Pentagon even instituted its own procedures that it had to institute under federal law in order for these things not to happen. Now, back in 2022, this law was passed, the creation of a Civilian Protection Center of Excellence, because we did not want civilians to be harmed during wartime. Of course, even strikes, even what they call precision strikes, are not that precise. And we have killed thousands of civilians during our military excursions and wars throughout the years. So this was implemented. The center was created. Now, the whistleblower, his name is Wes Bryant. He was a senior advisor in this center. And he said that he actually worked for a veteran strike team targeter who had served as a United Nations war crimes investigator. This is how important this center was. This is how qualified the people were that were running it. That the person in charge was a United Nations war crimes investigator. Certainly somebody who would know how to protect civilians because has seen the aftermath of what happens when militaries do not protect civilians. Well, evidently, of course, Elon Musk and DOGE came around and just fired people at will instead of actually trying to find fraud and waste and abuse like Bill Clinton and Al Gore did when they balanced the budget, asking for the heads of department to go into their departments and see if they could find excess government spending that, of course, always exists to some extent when you have such a large bureaucracy. No, Elon Musk just cut U.S. aid entirely, fired hundreds of air traffic controllers, and we're seeing the near-miss airplanes, and then here decided to just fire members of this center as if somehow this was not only not important, but essential under federal law. Take a listen to what this whistleblower has to say.
Most likely caused by an American missile that struck the building on February the 28th. But why was the school incorrectly targeted? Many point to the Pentagon's artificial intelligence software, which can generate lists of targets in seconds as a potential source of error. But now one former Pentagon official told Channel 4 News he believes drastic job cuts to his department are mostly to blame.
I mean, we were literally called fraud, waste, and abuse.
Wes Bryant worked in a Pentagon department dedicated to reducing civilian harm, in part by manually verifying targets before they're hit. But when Pete Hegseth took office, he said the unit was immediately targeted by Elon Musk and his men, and 90% of staff were cut.
The first two words in the name are civilian protection. So it was viewed as woke by incoming Secretary Hegseth, by what they call the transition teams that were placed in, teams under Hegseth that would go in and route through the Pentagon and figure out what they wanted to cut.
How could it be seen as woke?
You see his obsession really with lethality, with killing, this bravado toward violence and power. There's no room for civilian protection efforts there whatsoever.
Now, the ranking Democrat, Adam Smith, Congressman Adam Smith, in the Armed Services Committee, said specifically that they are not in compliance with federal law because of what they have done to this center. But it is not just the Democrats saying it. It is the Pentagon's own Inspector General and its report saying that it is likely not complying with federal law. Evidently, back in May of 2025, the Department of Defense submitted a legislative proposal to Congress asking them to reduce or eliminate the center. But of course, Congress didn't do that. And as we have seen time and time again, Trump, Hegseth decide to do what they want to do, and they do not care about the law. So instead, what happened was that the meetings for the center stopped, according to the Inspector General. Personnel lost or reassigned, as we saw with DOGE, and inconsistent with the whistleblower thing. And some funding was also stopped, even though there was no formal decision by Hegseth, no formal decision by Congress, basically hollowing out the center, even though federal law requires it to be complying. And the really disturbing and depraved thing is that this center is all about saving civilians. It's not even stopping or reining in going to war without congressional approval, which obviously we have seen that happen. They don't have any domestic authorization. The Senate just finally passed the War Powers Resolution Act, and thanks in big part to Senator Cassidy, who, of course, Trump backed his opponent. The House will take that up, but MAGA Mike shut down the whole House before they could take up the vote. We're not even talking about that. We're even saying once you go to war, this is just a way to stop civilians from getting harmed. But instead, it is because we have seen Hegseth say that he's not going to have any more woke policies. Evidently, protecting civilians is a woke policy. It's all about lethality. And we're seeing that and hearing that. And we see them showing video games, like as if this is a game. We're hearing the Pope speaking out about these video game images, saying there are real consequences to war, and civilian consequences are the most important. And here you have the watchdog group, the Whistleblower, talking about purposeful actions by the Department of Defense to gut the center meant to protect civilians during this time, seeing the consequence of it in real time with all of those school children dead. And I'm sure many others with the continued strikes that we have had and will still have. We have a new sponsor, Avocado Green Mattress. Their certified organic mattresses are specifically designed to relieve pressure points, support your body the way it needs, and help you actually get the deep restorative sleep you've been missing. Every mattress is made with thoughtfully sourced materials and built with real care, so you get incredible sleep night after night. Their mattresses, like Avocado's best-selling Green Mattress, plus their city bed frame, bring timeless design, quality, and sustainability into the bedroom. Avocado focuses on thoughtful craftsmanship, creating products that feel intentionally made rather than mass-produced, so you can feel good when you buy. When products are made with real certified organic materials, they don't just feel better, they can actually provide better support, breathability, and durability. So they're both good for you and good for the planet. Choosing avocado is one of the most sustainable choices you can make, as they are made with natural, certified organic materials that are responsibly sourced and last longer, which means less waste. Avocado products are made, not manufactured, and thoughtfully crafted with real materials to deliver lasting comfort and support. Go to avocadogreenmattress.com/mistrial to check out their mattress and furniture sale. That's avocadogreenmattress.com/mistrial. avocadogreenmattress.com/mistrial. Congressman Adam Smith just grilled Admiral Brad Cooper about the investigation into the strike on the school in Iran. And the Admiral tried to say that it was complex, despite the fact that we saw the New York Times report that the Google images made it clear that this was a school. Take a listen to this exchange.
The United States does not deliberately target us.
Got that part.
Period. Full stop. And nor are the Iranian people our enemy. The IRGC is the adversary in this case.
I heard that in your opening statement, Admiral. I asked you a very specific question, and I'm curious what the answer is.
So the investigation is ongoing. As soon as it is complete, I'm happy to be as transparent as possible.
We will not take responsibility for something we very obviously did.
So it's a complex investigation. The school itself is located on an active IRGC cruise missile base.
Absolutely.
It's more complex than the average strike. As soon as we're complete, I'm fully committed to transparency, given your important oversight role and the other members here.
Just so you know, and I have an enormous amount of respect for you and an enormous amount of respect for the Pentagon, I do not trust that answer. What we've seen out of the Secretary of Defense and his callous disregard for any sort of rules of engagement or protecting civilian life may make us suspicious. And that's the only second question I have for you. Do you think it's ever appropriate for anybody in a leadership position to use the words "no quarter" when describing how we are conducting our operations in Iran?
So I think it's appropriate as military leaders. We follow the law of armed conflict and our constitutional responsibilities, and that's what we've done.
And you would agree that no quarter is not following the law?
I would agree it's our constitutional responsibility to follow the law.
I don't trust that answer. A disturbing place to be in the middle of war for a ranking member of the Armed Services Committee to have to say that to an admiral, but to saying it because of what has happened, the actions, the inactions, the statements by Trump and Hegseth, this watchdog reports, the whistleblower showing the lies, the non-compliance with federal law and the basic human dignity and what is being carried out and not carried out in our name. And we're going to cover it all here on MeidasTouch Network, so be sure to free subscribe if you haven't already. And be sure to follow the Mistrial podcast, because not only can you listen to me here on YouTube, you can listen to me wherever you listen to podcasts. And please be sure to check out our sponsors, the Mistrial sponsors. So grateful. They do not censor what I have to say, which is so critical in this moment. You can find out more about them in the description below.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.